Chapter 4. Cleopatra versus the Boys' Club. Cleopatra might have been pharaoh on paper, but Egypt wasn't buying the idea of an 18-year-old girl actually running the place. Her kid husband, Ptolemy XIII, had a squad of advisors who loved the idea of ruling through him. Basically, babysitters with delusions of grandeur. And Cleopatra? She ruined their fun by being competent. She spoke Egyptian, unlike her family, handled court cases personally, and tried to fix Egypt's mess. The advisors were not into this queen actually doing her job thing. They wanted a pretty figurehead, not a boss. Chapter 5. Cleopatra in Exile and the Civil War. By 49 BCE, Cleopatra's throne was basically snatched out from under her. The advisors of Ptolemy XIII kicked her out of Alexandria. She didn't exactly go quietly. She headed east to Syria, regrouped, and started raising an army. Imagine your ex kicking you out of the house, and instead of crying, you come back with an army at the door. Cleopatra's plan? March back into Egypt with soldiers and reclaim what was hers. And she almost pulled it off. But then, Egypt became the stage for someone else's drama, Rome's civil war.
At this exact time, Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great were tearing the Roman Republic apart. Pompey ran to Egypt for help, expecting a warm welcome from Ptolemy XIII's court. Instead, he got stabbed and beheaded the moment he arrived. The Egyptians thought killing him would impress Caesar. Spoiler, it didn't. Caesar hated it. So when Caesar landed in Alexandria in 48 BCE, the whole situation changed. Cleopatra saw her chance. If she could get Caesar on her side, she could finally take down her brother/his new husband's camp and reclaim her throne. And that's when she pulled the move that made her a legend. Cleopatra pulls off the stunt of the century, sneaking back into the palace to meet Caesar, rolled up in a carpet like Amazon Prime delivery. Caesar opens the package and instead of sandals or scrolls, out pops a queen. He's instantly hooked, not just by her looks, but by the fact that she had the guts to pull this off in the middle of a war zone. Chapter 6. Libraries on fire, but sure, let's fight. The two strike a deal. Caesar needs Egypt's grain to feed Rome, and Cleopatra needs her throne back from the 13-year-old husband-brother combo pack. Naturally, that deal sets off the Alexandrian War, Caesar and Cleopatra versus Ptolemy XIII's advisors. Alexandria turned into a war zone. Libraries burned, ships went up in flames, and the palace basically became a battlefield. It dragged on for months, but in the end, Cleopatra's gamble worked. Caesar crushed her brother's camp, and suddenly she wasn't the desperate queen in exile anymore. She was back on the throne with Rome's most powerful man in her corner. As for Ptolemy XIII, remember him? The Kid King didn't exactly retire gracefully. During the fighting, he tried to flee across the Nile, literally. He drowned in the river, and just like that, Egypt lost a pharaoh. With him gone, Caesar wrapped things up quickly. Cleopatra was restored as queen. Of course, tradition still demanded a co-ruler, so Rome handed her the crown alongside her even younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, basically swapping one child husband for another. Congratulations, Cleopatra. Same weird marriage rule, slightly different boy. And what about Ptolemy XIII's genius advisors? The ones who thought it was smart to kick Cleopatra out in the first place? Let's just say Caesar wasn't handing out thank you notes. Some were executed, others vanished, and the rest quietly melted into the background like, "Who, us? We've always loved Cleopatra." Chapter 7. The Crossover Episode. So, after little brother husband Ptolemy XIII drowned, Cleopatra had to keep the tradition going. Enter Ptolemy XIV, her new co-ruler, about 12 years old, which meant husband on paper, toddler on the throne. Cleopatra played along, but let's be honest, She was running Egypt solo. Meanwhile, the real partnership was with Caesar. Their deal turned into a romance, and in 47 BCE, Cleopatra gave birth to a son, Caesarion, Little Caesar. The problem? Caesar was already married to Calpurnia, his third wife. Still, Cleopatra wasn't just Egypt's queen, she became Caesar's partner as well. In Egypt, nobody batted an eye. The locals were used to sibling marriages and royal drama, so a Roman lover barely made the gossip list. But in Rome, different story. Caesar didn't exactly keep it quiet. He invited her to Rome, gave her a villa, and even placed a golden statue of her in the Temple of Venus. It turned heads everywhere. To the Romans, this wasn't just a romance. It hinted at something bigger, a foreign queen, tied to their most powerful man, with a child who might even be his heir. And soon, Caesar's story would take a turn no one saw coming. Chapter 8. Single Mom Era. And then came March 15th, 44 BCE, the day Rome flipped upside down. Julius Caesar, the most powerful man alive, was stabbed 23 times in the Senate. His friends, his allies, even guys he trusted, turned him into a pincushion. Cleopatra, who had been staying in his villa, suddenly found herself in the middle of a dangerous power struggle. With Rome in chaos and no protector left, she quietly returned to Egypt with her son, Caesarion. Back in Egypt, Cleopatra still had one loose thread: her younger brother and co-ruler, Ptolemy XIV. Not long after their return, he suddenly died. Ancient sources whisper it was poison, and most point to Cleopatra as the one behind it. Whatever the truth, the result was clear. With him gone, Cleopatra could elevate her son. She named Caesarion as her new co-ruler, making the boy both heir to Egypt and, in her eyes, the legacy of Caesar himself. With that move, Cleopatra tightened her grip on Egypt, ruling not just as queen, but as mother to a future king. Cleopatra now ruled with Caesarion, her son and co-king. For a while, her position was secure. Egypt was stable, her dynasty restored, and her power tied to the legacy of Caesar himself. But Rome wasn't done with her story. After Caesar's assassination, the Republic tore itself apart in yet another civil war. While generals fought for control, Cleopatra kept her focus on Egypt, waiting to see who would come out on top. And then, in 41 BCE, one name reached her court: Mark Antony. He wasn't just another Roman. He was one of Caesar's most trusted allies, a man who now held the East in his hands. Antony summoned Cleopatra to meet him, expecting a queen to explain herself. What he got instead was a legend in the making. Cleopatra had survived exiles, wars, and Caesar himself, but her next chapter with Mark Antony would turn into one of history's most unforgettable stories.